Welcome to the Anthology of Enlightenment. Today, new day, new start with our, I have a book of her here, Lillian de Waters. It's a pamphlet. She had her own production with the publications. She had her own publishing company. So she did that really well because you can hardly find her books. You really have to know how to get to them. So this one was given to me. That was the easiest for me then. But you can download some of her work online as a PDF. And you might find it at other places too. And still the books are for sale too, of course. So Lillian de Waters is the, Western master, together with tomorrow Mary Baker Eddy. They're a bit of in the same time, you could say. They don't share the same vision completely, but that makes it interesting for us to take a look at it. And so Lillian de Waters is, in a certain sense, very outspoken, that she's in fact teaching the absolute way of teaching, like only referring to the absolute as a reference point for teaching. Now, we are of course quite familiar with that, with Joel Goldsmith. He teaches a lot of Bible, like Jesus. I and my Father are one, was what we hear, and I'm the light of the world. So it's like that's in that sense also a part of the totality, or the absolute in the teaching. Now she, of course, there are more teachers that teach like that, but she used it specifically to make a point with her teaching in that way, or healing, spiritual healing. Way to do that. Now that makes it interesting, and to me, I heard of her probably the first time when I was in America. So somebody shared some words of her with me, and I loved the idea of an absolute teaching. It's like, what would be easier than that? It's like there's no in between, there's no process talk in that sense. There's no teacher-student relationship. There's no, all these things are, in fact, not, they're not used in the way that she's teaching. Because what is she doing? She comes from the idea that you are individually the totality of truth. In your recognition of it, you are that. Like I Am the Self is one of her books. I am the self. And it's not that we are students of learning to get to that or something like this. It's like, no, this is, you come to the recognition of that. You start to declare that. You come into that, I use the word mastership, but it's more like you start to declare that for yourself. I think that's a great way to put it. And so it is great to use for us today. For instance, in the meditation, we use the absolute expression because it's really beautiful as a prayer, as a meditation, as an invocation, if you want, like to remind yourself, or to share with yourself, to allow a whole idea to affect you, and to see it at work, or have a recognition with it. And this is maybe very important. It's like the recognition with the truth is where an actual happening is occurring. You have a recognition of what she shares. That is what is going to do so-called the work for you, because the recognition is a shift in your consciousness. So instead of engaging your mind to start to comprehend or start to understand what is being said, the recognitions are sufficient in order to allow this change to occur that needs to occur in order to come to an open consciousness. And yeah, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's like the recognition that I and my Father are one. Suddenly, that can hit you more. Yeah. So it's like it doesn't need an understanding. It doesn't need a definition or a thinking about it. No, this is a direct offering of an experience. No, we use this a lot. So that's interesting to take a look at. It will be totally different than tomorrow, for instance, with Mary Baker, even though she's teaching Jesus Christ, like she's teaching the words of Jesus, uses a lot of scripture, but has other ideas related to it. Now, that's always, so the comparison can give some clarity, and that can be helpful. So the comparison takes place then in 2 days. It's not really that we're comparing, but you will feel the difference. And the recognition, here the word is again, the recognition of that difference is something that tells you something about yourself, because you're the one registering it. You're the one that actually hears it and experiences the difference. Now, so some of that will be especially for you, and some of it doesn't seem to touch you at all. And all of it is perfectly all right. It's the same with the other masters that we invited in the anthology. Like all the other masters that we invited had a specific frequency or point of expression. And you can have recognitions, like a resonance with that. You can be touched by it. You can be ignited by it. And you just never know how that comes about. Now, this is great. So this makes it all, say, outside of your part, so of your so-called control. Like you have nothing to say about what you recognize. It is an occurrence in consciousness in a certain moment in time. In your spiritual awakening, you recognize that to happen in you. This is what matters. But like I said, you have no control over that. So that is happening to you, and it's actually helpful, and you just allow that to be. Not a big deal in that sense. But it has much more impact than you think. So you trying to figure out what is meant, or you trying to figure out how you're supposed to look at it, is much slower, you could say. It will eventually get to it, probably, but the recognition is something you can rely on. Okay, so that's the introduction about recognition then. There's always something coming up, obviously. So today we have the meditation that we're going to start right away, and then there will be some, say, general information about Lillian de Waters. I could not find that much about her, but that's okay too. So I found on the website of Mystics of the World, I found a short description of her, and that suffices. I'm going to use that. So then for the rest, we have a moment that we listen to one of her talks, actually one of her books, because I'm reading it to you, and that will be like 10 minutes or so. Astonishing new revelation, which is also a real point in this that I come back to. You are consciously at one with the divine to the degree that you see, feel and express it, and believe in no other, acting in the knowledge that this mind is all-knowing, and to it all things are revealed. State or declare your wish or need, and leave it with this mind to fulfill or to bring to pass. Back of us, around, above and within us is power, infinite, invincible and almighty. I am the real man, at one with the Father. is the cry of the soul singing its way into the full realization that all power in heaven and earth is given unto me. You are of that which is ever above. Therefore your perception should be that Spirit includes your good and is ceaselessly blessing you. Spirit denotes the real substance, and the spiritual universe refers to creation as it really is: good, perfect, harmonious, incorruptible, and eternal.
Vous êtes consciemment en harmonie avec l'Esprit divin dans la mesure où vous le voyez, le ressentez et l'exprimez. Ne croyez en aucun autre. En agissant, sachant que cet esprit est omniscient et que toutes choses lui sont révélées, vous énoncez ou déclarez votre souhait, votre besoin, et le laissez s'accomplir ou réaliser. Derrière nous, autour, au-dessus et en nous se trouve le pouvoir infini, invincible et tout-puissant. Je suis le véritable homme, uni avec le Père. Tel est le cri de l'âme qui chante pour atteindre la pleine réalisation que tout pouvoir dans le ciel et sur la terre m'est donné. Vous faites partie de ce qui est toujours au-dessus. Par conséquent, votre perception devrait être que l'esprit inclut votre bien et vous bénit sans cesse. L'esprit désigne la substance réelle et l'univers spirituel se réfère à la création telle qu'elle est réellement bonne, parfaite, harmonieuse, incorruptible et éternelle.
All right, thank you. Thank you for joining in the meditation. Thank you. So this was a meditation with Lillian de Waters, and we continue now. We want to know some specifics about her, and that's why I will pull up the next, which is great to hear something like what actually happened with her. Here's a picture, one of the few pictures available, very few. Lillian de Waters. Lillian de Waters was born in 1883 and lived in Stamford, Connecticut. She grew up with a Christian Science background and in her early teens began to study metaphysics. Early teens. And during that same period to seriously study the Bible. It was from the Bible that I learned to turn from all else to God direct. What stood out to me above all else was the fact presented that when they turned to God, they received light and revelation. They walked and talked with God, and they found peace and freedom. She published a few books while actively within the Christian Science organization, and then in 1924 she had an awakening experience when it was as though a veil was parted and truth was revealed to her. From that point she began to receive numerous unfoldments which led to her separation from the Christian Science organization. She was a renowned teacher and healer throughout the world, known throughout the world. So this is from mysticsoftheworld.com. And this is what I could find. Like, there's no Wikipedia page from her. In that sense, she's not so very publicly present. She hasn't been very publicly present, but she has found a way, you could say, in the spiritual community, as far as there is such a thing. But anyway, so that if that needs to come to you, it will, one way or the other. That's always so beautiful. Like, I have this thing. I got this pamphlet. Somebody gave it to me, Lillian de Waters. He said, oh, here, you should read this. So it's like, okay, thank you. Yeah. And it was in my, in my cupboard maybe for 10 years before I even opened it. Now I start to use it and actually read it. Wonderful, great, wonderful. So it's like there's so much available, and the time will come or does not come. It's like when you start to pick up certain things. And yeah, that's a perfect plan. So I totally trust that for myself. Now, to go back to Lillian de Waters. So she has a specific point. Like she was sharing about studying the Bible, hearing that people were actually in conversation with God, that they had revelations. Like, yeah, many of the ones that are, say, of the stories that ended up in the Bible were of people who had a revelation from God in which something was shown to them. Why isn't this you? Well, this is you. It can be shown to you, and you can receive revelations when you're made ready to receive them. You can receive them. And so what is a revelation? And that's an interesting part, because the experience of a revelation is in fact one in which you receive almost like a download of light, in which you experience, light and a deep connection. Like, you can basically not express it at all in words, but it's really an experience. And it clarifies something within you. Something becomes so clear, like having you cannot really talk about it, but as an example, like having had an experience of oneness, I literally felt everyone was present. There was no one excluded from it. Like, this is what oneness is. All are included, for instance. Now, that's an experience in itself. I can use words to express it, but it doesn't cover it whatsoever. Like, the total comfort of the fact that you actually see it for what it is that you will never ever have a question about it. That's a revelation. Like, it's a direct contact with God of pure joy. And this pure joy will maybe show you something. Well, at least it gives you the certainty, oh my God, there is a God. So that's probably the most important part. There's a God. He's actually communicating with me. Unbelievable. I've read it and I've seen it and I've heard about it, but now it's actually happening to me. So this is where this is about. Now, she had that too. That happened to Lillian de Waters too, which is great. We're going to take a look at that. So what happened with her then, in that sense, in the, say, teaching or demonstrating this? Or what is so specific about the way that she shows the things in her teaching? She has an expression here. Let's take a look at it. Spiritual illumination and inspiration come when we gladly surrender and shut out everything of self, of your self-identity, and of the world, the way that you see the world, the way that you are identifying with the world, in order that we may hear God's voice, right? This is what Joel teaches too, right? The heavenly promise is then renewed and fulfilled. I will instruct and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. See, the heavenly promise is then renewed and fulfilled. You start to hear the voice for God. I will instruct and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. Like the guidance is from within, from God's voice, coming to you individually. The truth of being does not come to man in order to destroy any evil anywhere, but it comes to him that having caught a glimpse of it, he may hunger and thirst for his real self, the radiant I am. Hear, O my people everywhere, the hidden inner man of the heart is none other than yourself, and, moreover, is your perfection right now. Indeed, this perception is the well of water springing up into everlasting life. Now you see, formulates it in a way that is familiar to us. That is familiar. Of course, I speak for myself. It's like, it is familiar for you, for me. And the funny part is that, says it just a tad different, in which you start to hear it in a different way too. It's like it becomes really individual, within you, happening within you. Like that is the possibility here. Now, it's not that you hear that for the first time, but if you listen to her way of expressing it, it can just suddenly happen that you hear it, what she says, because it's so specific in her expression. And I love that. So I love that because anything that can help you to come to a realization is absolutely welcome. Do you care how that comes to you? Well, you shouldn't, because it can come to you in all kinds of different ways. And that in itself is given you. The way it comes to you is given you. You cannot determine it yourself. So the truth of being does not come to man in order to destroy any evil anywhere, but it comes to him that having caught a glimpse of it, he may hunger and thirst for his real self, the radiant I am. Hear, O my people everywhere, the hidden inner man of the heart is none other than yourself. The hidden inner man of the heart is none other than yourself. And moreover, is your perfection right now. In fact, what she shares here is this, is that the perfection that you are looking for is already within you. Now that we hear Joel say too, and it's in the Course too, in the Course in Miracles is it too. So it's like that is within you. So the practice is to say, stay with that, to give that a chance, in other words. Now, this is interesting because I'm dragging something else in, and that is your human experience. She doesn't really do that, but I do that here because I want to convey an idea, and that is this. We've talked about this before, but it's like in order for you to feel the thirst for this, for truth, you could say, to seek that, to seek the true self, to come into the experience of that. In fact, what is happening with you humanly is that you cross a border. You cross the border that you have as a secret agreement with the shadow figures in your dream, you could say. It's like the ones with other humans, if you want to say it like this, because there is no such thing if there's only one consciousness. But let's say there are other people. Well, this is the agreement that you made. You literally created other people to share this agreement with, and the agreement is, we can talk about truth, we can look at truth, we can do everything we want with truth, but we're not going to stand on the exact spot where that can come to you. Like, we love to look at it, we love to read about it, we love to think about it, but here on this spot, we agree with each other to never go there. Like, that would be the disturbance of the whole play of human drama. That would be like, yeah, not taking part in the play that we're playing as human beings, you could say. Now, why is this so important? Now, because Lillian de Waters brings in the absolute teaching, like, here's the truth, it is yours, it is within you, and so the immediate thing that might happen to you, I don't say it should, but it can happen to you, is that you feel a resistance of actually doing it that way and letting that come to you using her ways of doing it. And there's a reason for that. So there's a reason why you stay in ignorance, why you try to identify with something outside yourself, agreeing with you that, yeah, life is difficult, and yes, you have to suffer through things and all the things that human beings do in order to perpetuate the limitation. So the last thing that you want to do, if you want to use a word that is used by Teilhard de Chardin, like our first master, was the omega point. It's like the omega point is the best kept secret, especially in religion, in the churches. You can be all kinds of things, but you can never be God. Like, you can talk about God, you can ignore the teaching as much as you want, but Jesus was the light of the world, not you. Like, you will never be the light of the world. That would be, yeah, not great to say that. Like, that would be a total blasphemy to say that. People were, say, thrown out of the church if they would recognize that in themselves and actually start to declare it. Many of the masters in the early days were, say, excommunicated from the churches because of the fact that they said that, because they recognized it as an experience of themselves. So this is why it's important to, but it's for me, the way to express this is recognize that it was an agreement, like the best kept secret, that we actually don't even talk about as human beings. We don't talk about it because it is like, yeah, you don't want to go there. You know, there's one thing that we don't do. We don't talk about it, but we don't do it. And that's recognizing yourself as being all-powerful, being the love of God himself, being, say, part of the Trinity in your Christ awareness of yourself, standing exactly in that spot, radiating the love of your, the light of your soul into this universe, because you're an extension, like you're an extension, you're a reflection of the love of God. So this agreement, by giving that up, by in fact spilling that, you might even feel that you're betraying yourself. You might feel guilty about it for a moment. It's really interesting. So I'm just speaking from my own experience. That did happen. It's like you do the thing, you step into the place where you have agreed to never to step into. It's really interesting. So maybe you have a recognition with what I'm saying. That's sufficient. You don't have to work this out and how this works for you or how you're supposed to look at this and all this stuff. No, you recognize this, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And this is, in fact, say, with what Lillian de Waters is teaching, very helpful, because she ignores the human agreement, you could say, the human process in coming to something. So she ignores the fact that there's a process. It's like, no, you either are right here or you're not. You're either present or you're not. So she doesn't go into the process, being a student-teacher relationship, being in a process of awakening, coming to know yourself, changing from a human being into a Christ mind or something like this. Like now, see, this is what her teaching makes into an absolute teaching. It's like there's only one spot, and that is the spot where you realize the truth of yourself, where you actually recognize, I am myself, where you see that I am the love of God, where I'm the light of the world. You know, like all this is coming from within me and is present here. So that makes it different to listen to her too. We will see in a moment. Oh yeah, so here the absolute teaching is not an abstract philosophy. See, this is all what people try to make of it, a philosophy. Oh, that's a nice idea. Yeah, I would love to look at that. So yeah, let's have a discussion about it, if that is so or not. Let's start a group and actually talk about Lillian de Waters. It's like, no. The absolute teaching is not an abstract philosophy, nor some impossible and impractical transcendentalism, as often supposed, but it delivers the accurate and intelligent understanding that one should give no heed to a self-imposed human mind, but instead identify himself with his real self, in which is vested all victorious power. Now that is quite a sentence, so let's take a look. The absolute teaching is not an abstract philosophy, right? It's not like a discussion point or something, nor some impossible or impractical transcendentalism. It's not that you just completely transcend the human idea, because it looks like that, you know, but it isn't, she says, as often supposed, but delivers the accurate and intelligent understanding that one should give no heed to a self-imposed human mind, but instead identify himself with his real self, in which is vested all victorious power. Now I'll come back to you about that, because this is great what she does. So she says, this cocoon of human nothingness, like this cocoon of ignorance, you could say, or this cocoon of denial of the love of God, don't identify with that. Don't identify with the ideas that you hold about this world, about yourself, about others, about the government, about this world, about you name it. Like the whole, yeah, I call it the cocoons, like the whole cocoon of nothingness that you have identified with. Leave that. Like pay no attention to it any longer, or say train yourself not to pay attention to it, because what happens when you do that, suddenly there's more space in your consciousness, and it's not that we're transcending anything. No, we're actually entering into a deep experience of being, of light and love, of recognition of truth, because this cocoon of nothingness was made as a temptation to have an experience of separation. And of course that can never be true. If there is only perfection and the love of God, there cannot be another thing too. So that's why this is beautiful, the way that she brings that. It's like, don't pay any attention. Don't identify with the human self that you have set up in your mind and have believed yourself to be. No, step away from that. Don't pay any attention to it. Let it go as much as you can. Like, leave it for what it is, in order to be able to receive the voice for God as your guiding light. to come into say the depth of your experience as yourself. Where is the real man about whom so much has been written and taught? Where does he live? How is he related to you who are here now? He is not located off in space somewhere, nor in some other place of the world. For verily, verily, he is to be found exactly at that place where you are this very instant. Thinking of the real man as afar off, or another plane of consciousness, fails your vision to the supreme fact that he, the real man, is you, just where you are. For until man comes to himself, identified with his original perfect state as perpetually existing and intact now, how can he ever expect deliverance from a sleeping state called mortality and all that it includes? So this is great too. So see how this works? It's like, where is the real man about whom so much has been written and taught? Where does he live? How is he related to you where you are now? So these are some good how and why and how does this work questions. And we love those. Finally, some fundamental questions. Great, great. So how does this work? Now, the interesting part with an idea of presence, and this is also where difficulty comes in, not to make it complicated, but it's just part of it, is the fact that when you say right here, right now, that you in fact lose track of your location. Because where are you? Where do you find yourself? Where are you meeting your true self or the true man that you are? Like, where is that happening? It's happening in me, you say. Like, okay, so is that locatable? Is this related to the body? Is this, somewhere else? How am I supposed to look at that? It's like, no, it's within. That's where all of this is happening. But within what? Within your consciousness. All right. Now, what is one of the characteristics of your consciousness? Like, it has no limits. It has no location. See, there comes a difficulty. It's like, okay, it's within me. It is, it is within me. So that's great. Now I can find it. But where am I? Where is my consciousness? Everywhere. So this is like the paradox of the absolute teaching, you could say. You look for yourself within you, but you will not be able to find it because it's literally everywhere. So how does that work together then? How can this ever become your experience? Now it is absolutely not my intention to confuse you, but I just want to keep it open and seeing with you that being everywhere is a very joyous thing. It is because you have no limits. You have no there are no limitations. There's no limits to you as you truly are. You are everywhere. So, and that is a joyous occasion because it cannot be located. It is not in one spot. It can never be in the wrong place. Now it's always everywhere. And it's total, unimaginable. And it's total, it's formless. It is timeless. You know, so this is what we're talking about. So in fact, like this, the big shift happens in the fact that you allow yourself, as you have, say, seen yourself, defined yourself, allow that to be broken open in order to experience yourself everywhere. And is that you're all over the place or that you're... No. Like consciousness is total, is whole, is one. So there's no confusion in that. So that becomes a certainty and you start to, say, enjoy that as a presence as you, as a presence. Like, you don't have to have any ideas about yourself. You don't have to have a location. You don't have to have anything. Like, no, your consciousness is whole. In truth, it is whole. And it's given everything, like complete fulfillment, guidance. Hey, whenever it's needed, it's there. Inspiration, intuition, it's all right here. Where's right here? Everywhere. I take it with me wherever I go. But where do I go? I don't go anywhere. Since I recognize myself to be everywhere, it doesn't matter where I find myself. This knowledge, this certainty, this totality, this power is with me wherever I go. Do I need to do something with that? If it is so, it would be shown to me. Like, I am not the user of the power. It works through me. That's sufficient. So this is a bit like bring it into words what an absolute teaching is. In fact, there's nothing to hold on to, you could say, but it's allowing yourself to take the step of not, say, locating yourself, not holding yourself in an active remembrance of an identity. Now allowing this identity to be you. That is in fact what she is offering. Now, does that bring about healing? Yeah, how would it not? How would it not? So it's like you dissociate, you dislodge from your fixed position as a human being. You dislodge from your ideas about your world, about other people, about yourself, about time, about place. You leave those ideas behind and suddenly you find yourself everywhere. And in total fulfillment, in total joy, in total happiness, in total certainty. Like, that comes with that. That is the way, yeah, that is the truth of you. So where is the real man about whom so much has been written and taught? Where does he live, right? How is he related to you who are here now? He is not located off in space somewhere, nor in some other place of the world, nor verily he is to be found exactly at that place where you are at this very instant, thinking of the real man as afar off or on another plane of consciousness, avails your vision to the supreme fact that he, the real man, is you, just where you are. For until man comes to himself, identified with his original perfect state as perpetually existing and intact now, how can he ever expect deliverance from a sleeping state called mortality, and all that it includes? Yeah, this is great. This is great. So, the way lies within yourself. You must become aware of your pre-existent self as the self you manifested before going into a false state. Then the light of your divinity will surely waken you to behold the futility of ever attempting to make over a dream and yet leave man asleep. What she did is, in fact, coming back to that inner teaching. Say all the time, we saw this in the prayer too, or in the meditation. Like, it comes back to this pre-existing self that you are familiar with. You let that go. You made that in order to deny, in fact, the love of God that you are. Now you return back to your originality, to the real man within you, the real brother within you, the real son of God within you, you could say. Like, and then, so in, yeah, what else can I say about that? It is like the interesting part is that she says the path is completely within you. Like, it is not an outside path. It is not that anything outside of you can help you, because in fact you realize that there is only one consciousness. and that is the consciousness of the real man, which is in Trinity with Spirit and God. Like that is the real man. So it doesn't make sense to think that there are different levels of consciousness. Now this makes it, of course, absolute. It's like it's only happening in you. There's only one consciousness, and that is yours. So you awaken to that, reawaken to that, remember that as your original state of being, and you will see that that is that way. Just like I refer to the idea of oneness, like when you come into an experience of oneness, everyone is present, so who could possibly miss? Like, no, there's no such thing, because there's literally only one. See, that makes perfect sense as an experience. You cannot grasp it with your mind, you cannot understand it, but that's even more helpful. All right, so this was a bit, this is from the book I Am the Self, and it was great to use that. Now, like I said, I use this too, the astonishing new revelation. I read a bit to you some weeks ago, and I love to share the astonishing new revelation. Private lesson by Lillian de Waters. The astonishing new revelation. No doubt every single one of us has regarded our relation to the truth as similar to that of mathematics. That is, we've accepted our spiritual position to be that of a student of truth and have used the science of true thought to work out our earthly problems. Some of us are studying Christian Science, some Unity, some the Absolute, and some Metaphysics under various other titles. Nevertheless, all of us have considered ourselves students of the truth, have we not? But anon to the vision lifts, the scene changes, and the sudden moment's revelation and insight completely rearranges and shifts our viewpoint. We then let go altogether that classification of ourselves as students of truth, using truth to solve our problems. And furthermore, we see that as such, we have many titles felt a restriction of or responsibility placed upon us, though we may not have admitted this even to ourselves. Suppose, for instance, we seemed not to have a sufficient understanding of the truth to make a certain demonstration. Suppose, as students of truth, we could not at the moment see clearly or fully enough the nothingness of the seeming difficulty. We might try hard and be earnest and sincere in our endeavors, yet something might seem to weigh on us or prevent a clear insight of the allness of perfection and the nothingness of the seeming problem. We would persevere, of course, and we would continue our search for more knowledge and fuller ability to demonstrate it. But seemingly, the demands might appear greater, and the problems seem never to cease. Oh, for that peace where we might sit and rest, as it were, with no thought of an existing problem. Have we not all entertained such thoughts and feelings? To be sure, we have. Well now, accepting a certain new insight, we may do this very thing, that is, have no consciousness of existing problem. For a definitely new vision creates a radical change in our position in this triangle of truth, student, problem. A most radical change. Before telling you about this astonishing new revelation, let us look with precision to see just how we have practiced placing ourselves in our relationship to truth when practicing Christian healing. Having found that all the discordant pictures of disease and limitation are caused by the false conceptions or erring convictions of mankind, we were then able to see that such pictures had no substance, no power, nor intelligence whatsoever. thus no presence. Stripping such theories of their disguise or pretense of truth, they became absolute harmless to us. For we saw there was no harm in them, and this resulted in what is commonly called healing, that is, the discordant condition ceased, and the harmonious and natural state was again in evidence. Such demonstrations were based upon our awareness and understanding of the allness of God and the nothingness of false beliefs and false conditions. Placing ourselves as student of truth, we practiced our highest vision and understanding of truth, and this brought about the healing. Is this not so? But supposing there came a problem to our attention or a condition in our experience which, for the time being, we could not seem to surmount or cause to be dissolved. Suppose that no matter how clear was our consciousness of the facts of life and the unreality and nothingness of false belief and false conditions, still the perfect answer did not become visibly present to us. We would wonder what else to do, would we not? Well, one day, while in deep meditation, it suddenly dawned upon me that being a student of truth was not, after all, an absolutely assured or infallible state. One might apparently practice all he knew of truth, and still the problem remains unsolved. Surely such a position as this could not satisfy me. I saw before me the eternal triangle, the truth, the student of truth, and the problem. For instance, since both students and problems undergo a continual change, what was certain or sure about the mathematical triangle, I asked myself, except mathematics itself? As this question forced itself upon me desperately, my heart cried out, oh, to be mathematics, to be that certain, sure mathematics, with never a question of uncertainty or doubt, nor any necessity to yearn for knowledge. Instantly there followed a moment of blinding light with its electrifying transfusion. It was sudden and swift, as though a curtain has been raised, admitting some startling new insight. I saw the indisputable fact with vivid, clear distinctness. I saw I was mathematics. I was not someone solving problems by applying mathematics, but I was mathematics itself. I was the principles and the laws and the rules. And I was not a student at all. Then under this blazing flood of revelation, what else could I do but exclaim further, why, this means that I am truth itself, I am life itself. I am not the student earnestly, ardently trying to see through dream and dreamers, but I am that certain, sure, absolute and changeless truth itself. The simplicity of it all amazed and overwhelmed me. Here in this brief but thrilling instant of pure revelation, I saw that years of study and research had never given me. Of course, I then understood Jesus' dynamic statement, I am the truth. Yes, this was it. I was not a student of truth endeavoring to obtain and attain certain states of consciousness, always letting go one for another higher up on the scale. No, I was not this at all. I was truth itself. I was literally the changeless and unchangeable, the perfect and absolute. What more could I ask? What more could be desired? Did truth or true being have any association with the problem? Certainly not. Neither then did I. I am truth itself. Again and again I told myself in my newfound changed relationship, I am not trying to think or to know something, but I am the truth itself. I am doing, feeling, being the truth and the life and the way. Oh, the blessed wonder of the light! Now, once having seen and taken this position, every other thought seemed immediately to fade out of consciousness, while beautiful illustrations and verifications in Jesus' life and teaching came flooding my rapturous thought. How plainly now to see that Jesus never said that he was a student of life, but instead, but insisted, I am the life. Yes, this was it. He was not a follower of some particular way, for I am the way. He announced again and again, nor did he teach others how to get rid of darkness, but only emphasized to them, I am the light. Indeed, Jesus did not ever speak, nor act, or thought as though he were using truth or life as a means to bring about certain healing results. No wonder he was so absolute, so compellingly certain and sure. His attention was not towards conditions, dreams nor dreamers, states nor beliefs, but was upon that nature which is unalterable, that principle which is fixed and absolute, that life which expresses continuous harmony and wholeness always. Against such the winds and waves of circumstances might heat in vain. We are the truth and not the student. Now we know that since the beginning of time all the mistakes and errors made in computations or affected in subtractions, additions, multiplications or divisions of numbers have never weakened, corrupted or assailed mathematics. Think of it. Mathematics, inclusive of all its principles, its rules, laws and questions, still remains changeless, despite the sum total of all mistakes made in the solution of mathematical problems, and despite all the people everywhere who have made such mistakes. Thus we are convinced that mathematics and all that it constitutes is incorruptible, unassailable, absolute, eternally fixed and changeless. What difference to mathematics that every day millions of people write down falsities about it? What difference if the whole world agrees upon some computation which is absolutely contrary to its existing facts? Mathematics would be undisturbed by any of such mental inconsistencies or false beliefs, since nothing of the kind could ever affect its established from the beginning verity, reality or existence. Thank you, Lillian de Waters. I love the comparison with mathematics. It's like whatever mistakes you've made in trying to solve your mathematical problems, it didn't change the math, you know, it didn't change the law behind it. And she said, like, I am the mathematics, I am that law, that is me. Like, we can repeat and make mistakes in looking at the truth is not going to change by it. It doesn't have any effect. So that's one thing. Now coming back to the absolute teaching, so one part of it is too that she is expressing is like you cannot be a student of the truth. No, it's your recognition that you are truth itself is what is your reality. But what is the consequence of that is this. Like, and here you see the power of your mind, you could say, like the power of your mind you use in a certain way. Now you can keep yourself so-called small by staying in the idea that you're a student and that one day you might get it, or you might struggle through in order to have a glimpse of light. That would be your own, say, your own path that you make. And so the power of mind here, presented here, or given to you, in fact, in purity, is to step right away into the recognition that I am that, I am the life, I'm the way, the truth and the life. And that is what I am. Like coming to that as an experience, of course, it's like you cannot fool yourself So any idea that you hold about yourself as being a student, you will have to let go of that in order to recognize yourself to be, yeah, I said it this week a couple of times, like to come into your mastership. Mastership being the recognition of truth itself, not having any ideas about it, but literally coming into the direct experience of revelation, in fact. Like letting that directly come through instead of talking about it. In fact, standing on the spots that you decided never to go and stand on, in total certainty. Not that you have to be certain about it, no, you come into the experience of it as the certainty that is within you, that presents itself. So I've tried to make a point clear here. Why am I doing that? Because you see the use of your mind is incredible. Your mind was capable, like in fact, being a multi-dimensional configuration with how many dimensions, 10, 11, who knows. You were able to imagine yourself in a three-dimensional world with a location, with a specific spot in the universe, planet Earth, with a GPS code where you can say like, I live here, I am here, this is me. And you started to believe in it. You, with all this capacity of mind, was able to do that. Being a multi-dimensional entity, you could say, you literally put yourself together in this little enclosure you called human existence. And you think that that is the way it should be. You're completely convinced yourself of that. Now, what an incredible capacity this mind has to do this. Like, that's an amazing occurrence. You were able to limit yourself in every way. Very creative. Sickness, limitation, pain, losing the ones you love. All this is like hands full of definitions. Look at this world. Like, you did that. Okay, great. So the step back should not be too difficult. To let go of limitation for an expanded mind being everywhere, like your true consciousness is everywhere, it shouldn't be too hard. It might be a total relief, and it is a total relief to let go of the limitation. What is there possibly to fear if you recognize that you are like a multi-dimensional being in this mega universe, being completely in communication with the Supreme within you, a total part of it. However, whenever can you make a separation real after hearing this? Now this is in fact the total, absolute teaching that Lillian de Waters gives us today, and I love it. It's like, it's great. We can use that in expression of coming to truth by your individual recognition that you are that, not anything else. All right, so today I was creative in the sense of making a poem that came to me like, great. Some music related to it that has everything to do with I am light. I am light. Reality without beginning, without end, love, life, truth. True mind, true thoughts, true body, true universe, true Christ self, always. one mind, one body, one life expression, one spirit, one soul. There is none else. Truth apprehending, nature of unreality uncovered, vision of spirit seen, knowledge of mind, heart of love fulfilled. I am that I am light. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to share this with you today. It's really great that you're here, that you're, say, attending, that you're just being total present here. And it offers the opportunity to actually put this down here, you could say. It's like to actually come to the expression of that. It is to me like a total delight. And I hope that you can totally enjoy that too. So thank you so much for your presence today. And tomorrow we continue with Mary Baker Eddy, and we'll see what happens then. Thank you for everything, and see you soon.